Welcome to the special edition of The Five. Hi, everybody. The President and First Lady Melania Trump are heading to Mount Rushmore for a 4th of July celebration. What could go wrong? President Trump said to give a speech where he'll defend America's founders and call out the left-wing mob and those pushing cancel culture. While the president is planning to honor America, how about that, on its birthday eve? Others are intent on tearing it down. The president putting anarchists and looters on notice ahead of the planned protests this weekend.
The American dream is the sacred birthright of every American child. That's what we have, is we have the American dream. And nobody's going to shatter the American dream, not the anarchists, not the agitators, not the fools, not the looters. I want to also thank all of law enforcement. The job you've done is incredible. We signed a bill. You play with our monuments or our statues, you go to jail for 10 years. It's amazing how it all stops so fast. Stopped so fast. We let the local authorities handle it as long as possible, but ultimately we said, let's step in, and we stepped in, and it stopped.
And the Department of Homeland Security preparing to protect monuments, deploying special units to Washington, D.C., Portland, and Seattle. 3 pretty good cities where we saw a lot of chaos over the last 3 weeks. Geraldo, let's start with you. He's the first president to go to Mount Rushmore on the 4th of July since Bush 41. 10 years ago, President Obama canceled because he was afraid of the fire possibilities because of the fireworks, and the forest was dry. Is the president taking too much of a risk going here where there could be Native American protests and possible forest fires?
Well, I think that those dangers always exist, Brian. I think everyone is on edge. This is the least relaxed July 4th weekend in memory. You have this collision of our traditional expressions of patriotism with the social justice movement, all with the backdrop of this damn pandemic. 52,000 new infections yesterday alone. I just wish, looking at the president, who is my friend, I don't know why he refuses so stubbornly to wear a mask. Does he think it's unmanly? I just don't get it. I wish
he's going to wear it now.
Wear the damn mask. What's that, Brian?
He's going to wear it now. He said a couple of days ago he's going to wear it. You will see him get Air Force One with the mask, Geraldo.
Well, that will, I think, make me feel a bit more relaxed. I think that there are real battles to fight here. To do one over something so stubborn and so seemingly without real point is disappointing to me. I think that it affects everything about his political chances. I think it's the vibe toward him is affected by it's the little things. Yeah, but the big things, yeah, right. We want to get after these looters and rioters and anarchists and defacers of monuments and so forth, but we want the president to set an example, and I'm glad that he will be wearing one if your report is correct.
I think I'm correct. Kennedy will verify that. Kennedy, verify that. Let's see, as I speculate. Kennedy, in particular, I think this is going to be great. The backdrop of Mount Rushmore, the president's usually delivers a great speech. In South Dakota, kicking off the 4th of July with 7,000 people. What do you think?
I think it's great. I think that we have canceled so much. We've canceled celebrations. We've canceled our history. We've canceled people's careers. And I do think that we need to have some sort of a celebration, even if it's by proxy, even if it's something that people are just tuning into. I know we're having a lot of conversations. I'm having conversations every day with my daughters about all of this, about policing and history and what we do moving forward as individuals. And, basic things like saying please and thank you and being good to each other and getting back to basics. And one of the nice ways to get back to basics on the 4th of July is appreciate this incredible country that can withstand the turmoil and the conversations and the chaos that we're going through right now. And we can't do that by ignoring history, but embracing this moment.
All right, Lawrence, let's say the forests don't go on fire, my fingers are crossed, and things do go well and the protests are protests and they don't get violent. I'm a little worried about Washington and the Emancipation Memorial. There's going to be a protest there. And they say these very organized protest teams are going to be fanned out through all these monuments and statues. And Washington is full of monuments and statues. Do you worry about the 4th of July being marred?
Yeah, but I'm also worried about the conversation that we're having. I mean, the last time I checked, Black Americans were saying, let's have a conversation about policing, making sure we have equal protection under the law. But it seemed like some people heard, we want you to virtue signal. We want you to do unnecessary things that have nothing to do with equal protection under the law. So that leads me to believe that some have their own agenda. Okay, because I've been watching all this stuff happen across the country. The communities and the people that are on this panel that are having these conversations, we didn't ask for any of that. Why are you doing that? That means you have your own agenda. I went the other day to Chaz in New York City, okay? And I wanted to see what was going on down there on the ground. They have their own police there. They have their own EMT people there. People that aren't licensed to do any of this. It's straight up anarchy. It's disgusting. They tried to kick me out of there. I'm the only one that was Black that was in that circle, and they're telling me why my life should matter. So again, I think we need to get back on track here. Nobody's asking for virtue signaling. We want equal justice under the law, but I think it's important that we start holding these bad actors accountable. You know, Mr. Anderson's son died in Seattle, and there's still no answers for why he died and why the ambulances were prevented from coming there to save him. That's a problem, and those mayors need to be held accountable for that.
Lawrence, I hear your frustration. I feel it too, because I don't know whose agenda this is. Because I saw two African-American gentlemen say on Monday in Seattle, I don't know what this protest is, break it up. We don't even know these people. So it started out as equal justice under the law. It turned into a bunch of shirtless skateboarders creating anarchy while graffitiing the precinct.
Yeah,
Emily,
a bunch of hippies
it's hard to
everywhere.
follow, Lawrence. It's crazy. But Emily, looking at the 4th of July, do you think we could take a step back and celebrate?
I hope so. I hope that during the 4th of July Independence Weekend that all of us see ourselves as Americans first before any type of competing ideology and everything that is going on that is currently fracturing us. I know that myself and my family will be celebrating and honoring this country and all it stands for, especially the opportunity for which they all immigrated here. And I have to just echo Lawrence's comments for a moment since I'm currently in Seattle. It struck me the president's comments when he specifically addressed anarchists, agitators, looters, and fools. These are not protesters. This is not peaceful protesting either, and I think it's important for everyone to make that distinction because the level of destruction and absolute annihilation of these neighborhoods and cities are being undertaken by, yes, all of these competing ideologists and destructors that have nothing to do with what our Constitution protects, which is peaceful assembly or en masse movements through the legislature, through changing things that way. Of course, no one is going to pay attention to monuments being pulled down and set on fire, and while cops are getting bashed in the face with skateboards. That tramples on all of our rights. That does not elevate them. And final point, I think it's laughable and quite disheartening that now the local and state leadership of Minnesota and Minneapolis are calling upon the federal government to bail them out. They're calling for a federal declaration of disaster so that they can get those funds when it's their inadequacy, their lack of response, and their utter failure in their leadership capacities that let down their residents, mostly people of color and minority-owned small businesses, for example, and the residents there. That destruction is 100% on them. Just like here in Seattle, the Chaz destruction and those lives lost, those young Black lives lost, are on the mayor's shoulders.
And no coverage, absolutely no coverage.
Yeah, it was amazing. Oh, the network news just couldn't fit it in. And even though there's death and destruction, and they were saluting it for a week and a half. Emily, great point. And hey, Minneapolis, when you gave up your precinct and you told your cops to leave and they destroyed it, we're not fixing it. So that's on your dime. Time to go into overdraft on your checking account.